Hello, everyone, and welcome to your NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday, the 27th of February 2023. I almost fluffed my first sentence there this week. Oh my word, that's a bad start on what is going to be, by the way, a bad pod as well. Not in terms of the quality of the information I'm sharing, of course, but in terms of the one game that I get to talk about this week. And I have to say, it's not the pod that I was hoping to record today. Quite honestly, I was hoping and prepared to be talking to you with a wee bit of a sore throat and a wee bit rough around the edges overall after having had a brilliant day yesterday and not really being the best parent in the world, but being thoroughly thrilled with Rangers' first League Cup victory in 100 million years, it feels like. But alas, in order to win a trophy, you actually have to show up and do your job to the best of your ability, and the Rangers just didn't do that yesterday. So we'll get to that part in a wee bit here. But firstly, not Rangers related specifically, but I did want to just say it's quite a poignant week in terms of passings over this last week. And I'll start. I'll get there's unfortunately a wee bit more in the shout outs for this week. But Dickie Davies and John Motson, both very famous commentators and broadcasters in England, I was going to say in the UK, passed away last week. And I don't actually know how old Dickie Davies was, but John Motson was only like early 70s, not an old man by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm not 100% sure what happened to both, but both were quite a significant part of my introduction to sports and in my younger days, and they were just a mainstay on the TV, and just very, very distinct personalities, very, very distinct voices, and things like that. So I just wanted to kind of do a wee bit of a NARSA tip of the hat to both of those legendary broadcasting figures over back in England and the UK in general. Just not a good space to be in, unfortunately, for their friends and family. Anyway, that's the best part of the pod for this week. One game this past week, and you know what one it was? It was a League Cup final, and we didn't win it. And once again, we were at our best. We were at our best. Sure, we were. We weren't at our best, but unfortunately, this time Michael Beale just wasn't able to conjure up the victory that we so sorely wanted. Quite honestly, and it was of course the 2-1 defeat to, let's just keep calling them from now on, that mob in the League Cup final, where Alfredo Morelos managed to get another goal against them. And probably what was the only meaningful highlight of the game for us in hindsight. I'll go through the summary and the positives and the negatives pretty quickly here. I don't know about you, but the kind of weirdness, let's just say that, I wouldn't say negativity, certainly not for me from a negative perspective, really all started on the announcement around about, I don't know, an hour and a quarter to go or something like that of the lineup. That's kind of when it got a little bit funky for me. I'm not sure what it was like for you. And when we saw that we didn't have either of our two new signings, Todd Cantwell and Nicholas Raskin, in the lineup, my immediate thought was, oh, they're injured. They're obviously injured or something has happened. And I seen them on the bench. And instead, we started with John Lundstrom and Glenn Kamara. And I have to admit, I thought at the time, if they're not on the bench, they were talking and being all closed about injuries and stuff for last week, or something related to that, because that would be the only logical explanation, that you would sign two brand new players who are better than the players that you have in the current squad, and then you wouldn't play them. That's my logic. Anyway, so I was chatting with a bunch of folks last week and had kind of stated my desire that I'd love to just start the game like an absolute monsoon. Monsoon was actually the word I was using. And just really, really go at them from the off, rumble them up, instead of what seems to be the case. Let's just wait and see what sort of shape we're in after half an hour or at half time. And if we've withstood their onslaught, they tire towards the end of the game, and we might be able to grow into the game. Like, come on, man. Like, seriously. What is that about? It's about time we got beyond that. Anyway, the game unfolded, and this is with the benefit of hindsight a wee bit, but the game unfolded kind of like we thought it would, with little to no pace in the midfield, and us having pretty much no idea what Fashion Sakala would do with the ball, which, by the way, when it's going well, suits us, and when it's not going so well, It doesn't suit us, of course. And then them fouling us all over the pitch and kind of getting up and doing that little, oh, I'm really sorry about that. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Just pat the guy in the back and then pretend to look really sorry and try and help him up and all that sort of crap that the referees fall for. And then, of course, the odd defensive faux pas for us. And that's really literally the story of Rangers this season, is giving up cheap goals and giving up cheap goals against them, more particularly. And the goals that we gave up were just absolutely garbage. The first one is a canter from, I don't know where James Tavernier was supposed to be. John Lundstrom just goes for a wee stroll. You can tell he's not got the legs to get by. The guy puts the ball in, and then it's maybe it was a second goal. I can't remember. But both goals were basically just as crap as each other in terms of a ball across the box and then a tap in. Like 2 tap-ins. Borna got caught for the second one. You can tell from a different angle where he's like, oh, I need to get goal side of this guy. He just keeps doing it time after time against them. We get to half-time. We'd lost the goal just before half-time, and then we're like, okay, right, he's going to bring the subs on second half. No, he doesn't. And then we come out, and fair play, it went okay in the beginning. Then we hit the post, and then Fashion Sakala, that miss, and I know Michael Beale talked about it a couple of times on his post-match interviews. That miss is just shocking. Either put it across the box, or with an open goal, put it in the net, and then we're back on level terms. But no, he does neither and puts it right past. I've no idea what he was trying to do. And then we give up another very, very cheap goal where it's just a ball across the box again. And it's, I don't know, I had kind of nightmares, and apologies for maybe I got both goals mixed up. There was a few beers consumed during the game, to be fair. But the just equally as garbage. Then, of course, we bring on the subs a little bit, well, maybe too late, because we've got Alfredo gets a good goal, really, really good instinctive finish, actually, very, very delighted to get that going in, and we're like, okay, bring it on, the subs come on, and then we don't really create anything meaningful in terms of chances for the remainder of the game, nothing that I could remember, and nothing that showed up on the highlights when I rewatched them again last night and today. So we pretty much got what we deserved. I mean, I thought a Palomine came into the pub towards the end of the game, and I says to him, it's 15 minutes to go, probably 15 minutes to go, because it was about 80 minutes at that point, and I says, we will get one chance. Now, the key is whether we're actually going to take it or not. But the way the substitutions went, I was joking with a pal back home after the game yesterday, and it felt like both teams made about 14 subs. It was unbelievable. It was just sub after sub after sub. And while that's good from a tactical perspective, you get a chance to change things up and kind of mix things around, it doesn't help from a continuity perspective. And I think there was something like, there must have been about 9 subs, and then that equates itself at 9 subs and 2 goals in the second half, and an injury, and there's 4 minutes of extra time. I'll get to the referee watch here in a wee second. But anyway, I think in hindsight, we pretty much got what we deserved on the day, and they didn't really have to, get themselves into a top gear for the game to eke out the cup win. I mean, in the history books, it will show you it was 2-1, and it will show you it was quite tight, but nah, not really. So positives, Alfredo's goal that I talked about. I thought, apart from his part in the goal, and I think more so now it's actually the second goal I'm talking about, I thought Tav played quite well overall, and Alan McGregor had some great saves. He just never gave anything up. Towards the end of the game, when we are all over the place, kind of trying to get something to salvage it and put it into extra time, they had a few very, very good chances, and McGregor was just having none of it. He was just saying, if you're going to score past me, it's going to have to be a tap-in when no one else is defending. Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the equalising goal in the Europa League final last year. Just not a lot of great action to really defend the ball from the middle of the park, quite honestly. Then it goes down the left-hand side, and then the ball gets put across the goal, and we just decide, instead of absolutely attacking the ball with everything we've got and making sure that our marking is where it should be, we just decide to have a wee look at where the ball's going and watch it go past us and watch a guy come in and just to bundle it in. But anyway, back to the positives. I'm trying to be positive. Alan McGregor, again, didn't give anything up, and just from a feed perspective, anyone who listened last week will know that we completely lost all internet in the pub last week, and it was absolutely perfect, almost near flawless yesterday, with a couple of bits of buffering at the end, but that just kind of helped remove some of the agony towards the final whistle, and that's really the only positives that I can bring from that. The negatives, Signing two really good players and not playing them when it matters, that's kind of negative for me. And it's kind of interesting because I was talking to Hammy, my good pal in the Rangers club here, and after the game he had pointed out, everybody's an expert after the game, of course, but he made a really good point after the game that that mob know how to play against Kamara and Lundstrom, and especially the Lundstrom of this season, he's nowhere near what he is, and Kamara's just up and down like a yo-yo. Most of the time, you get one in every 4 or 5 performances is really good from him, and other than that, they're just kind of weird. But they know how to play against both of those guys. They have no clue how to play against Todd Cantwell or Nicholas Raskin. And we've signed them to put in big games. Now, what I did say, to be dead fair to Michael Beale, was you have to trust the manager. You have to trust that he's seeing different things that we are seeing. He has a reason and rationale, some of which he explained afterwards. Whether you agree or disagree, he explained it anyway. And the fact that they didn't have a lot of game time before it, and then maybe the game would have been too much for them. But we would have forgiven that if they had played and they just got consumed by the occasion, or they ran out of legs, or whatever. But not to play them and then bring them on when we're really chasing the game, not 1-0 chasing the game, but pretty much 2-0 chasing the game. It's just bizarre. Another negative is the goals we lost. I kind of fluffed my lines earlier, but you get the gist that both goals were absolute garbage. And it felt, honestly, like the lack of leadership and the lack of ownership during the game, and it seems to be now the lack of genuine winners. Someone was saying, I don't know if I listened to it on a pod today, or someone was saying yesterday that we're actually serial losers. If you take away the Scottish Cup last year and 55 the season before, this core group of players haven't won anything in a Rangers shirt. So that, winning is a habit and losing is a habit. And someone shared on the NARSA WhatsApp group today an interview with Ten Hag, the Manchester United manager, and he made a point of saying that Casemiro and De Gea and these guys know how to win trophies. Our guys, not so much. When you actually put it in that sort of context. So maybe we have to kind of think something like that as well, because it's a mentality thing. People who genuinely don't want to lose at anything and will go to like move heaven and earth to win. I don't know that we have that, and I know I'm basing it just off of one game, but it hurts. And these are the games that we need to win to cement our legacy and continue a trophy haul. And at this rate, we're not going to win anything for however long that's going to last. In terms of the stats, we had 44% of the possession and 6 shots combined on and off target to their 13. So they had 56% and over double the shots we had. So the stats typically paint a real material picture of the game, and I think it did again for yesterday's game as well. We just weren't good enough to get anything more than we did, and that is really, really disappointing. But especially because we had almost 40 people at the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary down at Pin Bar yesterday. We had the bar open, we had breakfast being served, and we had a great atmosphere to get things going. And the team, I don't know if embarrassing is the word, but the team just continue to seem to find ways to let me down. And I know it's not personal. It's not about me. That's what I'm taught in my coaching. But I have this blind faith and blind support in Rangers. I would never stop going. I would never boycott. I would never do any of that sort of stuff. I'm going to be there through thick and thin. But I have to admit, at times like this, it really can wear thin at times. And it becomes very, very difficult to get absolutely enthused when you're looking at, what are we, 12 games or so before the end of the season, which will, they'll probably wrap up at some point whenever, hopefully it's after the break, but maybe it's before the break, and then we need to turn all of our attentions to the Scottish Cup. And based on what we've seen, this is the squad we've got. Yes, we've got a couple of injuries and players will be coming back over the next wee while, but this is what we've got, and we need to try and win this Scottish Cup with this existing team, playing like we played yesterday. And by the way, on some of the games, or in some of the games that Michael Beale has been in charge of that we've won, we're not going to win anything this season. That's another trophyless season again. It's hard to take. And I tell you what, for my own mental health, while I'm on a wee bit of a rant and rave here, when Rangers don't win, the ticket sales for a convention are materially affected and impacted by Rangers' success on the field. So I would love to just go to the game, shout at the TV, then shrug my shoulders and say that was too bad, or that was great, I love that, then just go about my regular day. We don't get to do that on the NARSA Executive, because not having the League Cup, not having a bit of silverware there is material for people wanting or not wanting to come to the convention. So when it gets to a point where I'm desperate, and we've already talked to the club and said we need that league trophy to be there, the ask was already formally in, not to preempt things, so don't think I was a jinx by asking too early or anything like that. But then we don't win it, and then I'm kind of thinking, here we go, like what's going to happen between now and the end of the season to either turn people on, or the way things are going, turn people off, and kind of materially affect our ability to put on a really good convention. We will put on a really good convention, of course. I'm just saying there's far-reaching or wider impacting outputs and outcomes to Rangers not being as successful as we want, and it makes me a bit sad, and it makes all of our jobs on the NARSA executive a little bit more difficult as well. I yearn for the days of just going back to shouting at the telly and not giving much else of a jot about that as well, but then I wouldn't be doing the NARSA stuff if I didn't love it, so that's why I'm doing this pod as well, I guess. On the referee watch, Nick Walsh, he booked 10 players. I think it was 6 for us and 4 for them, and I don't know, you blue tinted glasses, he appeared to be a wee bit inconsistent throughout the match in terms of the booking and what people were getting booked for and not, but it didn't cause too much controversy. I don't think. Some of the bookings were a wee bit soft, but for the most part he didn't really have an overbearing influence on the game too much. He didn't need VAR's assistance for anything either, so I think he did okay. So he'll get a 7 out of 10 for his efforts. I'm not sure it was a 10 player booking game, but maybe it was, who knows. Anyway, glad to get that one out of the way. We'll move on to more positive things. One game this week, and that's in the league, and that's Killie at home, and that's on Saturday the 4th of March, and that's a 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's 3 p.m. UK, so a nice Saturday afternoon 3 p.m. kickoff to get us going. The last time we played them was the 3-2 win at Rugby Park in mid-January. You might remember that game where we were absolutely cruising, and I think they got a red card, they down to 10 men, then we lost a goal against them, and then we weren't really hanging on at the end, but just in terms of just being that one goal, it was a wee bit more nervy at the end than we would have liked it to be. And then and that was goals from Alfredo, 2 from Alfie actually on that day, and then 1 from Ryan Kent as well. And then we also played them at the beginning of the season, actually in between the USG, what would that be, Champions League qualifier games, and we beat them 2-0 at Ibrox with goals from Cholak and a late one from Alfredo Morelos. Either one of those two would be good. I would much prefer the 2-0 one as opposed to the 3-2-1. For RTV, didn't hear a thing on the weekend. Had a good chat with Alan from the Toronto Number 1 Club on Friday, just to get him to walk him through the activation of the RTV code and make sure that everything was good on his side. Everything was good, and I checked in with him yesterday and he said that everything was good there as well. Other than that, no issues that I could see. As I said, we had a wee bit of buffering, but I think that was local to Calgary over the last wee while as well. So again, the same thing for RTV. If you've got any hassles, you just contact Alan and he'll get you sorted out. Please do that in advance of game day as well. For shout-outs this week, a little bit topsy-turvy. I'll just go through it in the order that I have it here. Firstly, I would like to pass on sincere condolences to my brother-in-arms, and that's the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary VP, Alec Liddell, whose mum Mary sadly passed away this past Friday there. And it was only last year that Alec's dad, Alex Sr., passed away too, so it has been a very heavy year for the Liddell family. So Alex, my friend, sincere condolences to you, Lorelei, and the extended Liddell family, and friends of course, from everyone here at NARSA. I'm here if there's anything you need, my friend. Last Friday, on a somewhat similar vein here, last Friday would have marked Sir Walter Smith's 75th birthday, which, when you consider it, even at that age, 75 is no age at all. I mentioned that earlier with John Watson, and it reminded me that he was just, of course, taken away way too soon from us. I did reach out to the Smith family to offer our thoughts and prayers, and just let them know that I was thinking about them on behalf of NARSA, and those were both very gratefully received as well. And you know what it did? That actually reminded me of my own dad, just in terms of the age, and the fact that he managed to take in, I don't know if I've ever told you this on any of the pods, but he managed to take in 7 NARSA conventions between 2013 and 2019, starting in San Francisco, Toronto, Redondo Beach, Vancouver, Las Vegas, Calgary, and then his last one in Windsor, Ontario. And he started his convention journey a couple of years after Walter passed in terms of age. I mean, and it's just so bizarre and unjust and unfair, but that's the life that we live in, all its joy and pain. So happy heavenly birthday, Walter, and I hope the family managed to get through this tough anniversary as well as they could as well. I did mention last week that I have this, what seems to be becoming now a hallucination about a guy in a bacon suit at one of the conventions. A suit that looks like bacon. It's not made of bacon, it just looks like it's got bacon imprint on it. I asked if anybody knew who that was, if they could get in touch. Nobody got in touch. So I'm going to raise it one more time, maybe one time after this if no one gets in touch again. Can you please let me know? It might have been Calgary, it might have been Las Vegas, I'm not sure. But let me know if you know, because I don't think I'm making it up. I really don't. Like, why would I make up there was a guy with a bacon suit on? I don't think I would. But maybe I would. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, but please get in touch if you know who that was or if it was you. What about this one? From a shout out in terms of community and how Rangers brings people together from all over the world, even if you actually don't know that you're kind of almost in the same part, certainly on the same continent. Anyway, a photo circulated on the NARSA WhatsApp group probably the week before. I don't think it was, I meant to actually do this last week and I just kind of ran out of time to get it prepped. But on the WhatsApp group, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and it was an archive photograph from the 18th of February. I think it was just on that. Actually, it would have been the anniversary, probably a week past on Saturday maybe. I can't remember. But anyway, it was the 18th of February 1989, and Rangers beat Stranraer 8-0 with goals. I'm just going to read it out here. With goals from Ferguson, 2 for Drinkle, 2 for Brown, 2 for McCoist, and 1 for Mark Walters. And the photograph they show is Ali McCoist. I don't know if it says Ali McCoist is back firing on all cylinders as he smashes in a shot to complete Rangers' cup rout of Stranraer at Ibrox. It doesn't say if the picture is him actually scoring the goal or if it's just him with an attempt on target. But anyway, on the left-hand side of the photograph is a person by the name of Neil Armour. And Neil Armour is a member of the Orange County Rangers Supporters Club down in California, and he was in Seville with the California crew there as well. I might have met him when I was there. I can't remember 100%. It was quite a whirlwind trip when we were there. Anyway, in that game, he absolutely assaulted Mark Walters and nearly broke his leg, by the way. And all through the game, he was called, now I'm not going to say this, what he was called, but all through the game, the fans were referring to him as something not very nice and something, you know, that was maybe a wee bit cultural. And he was getting absolute pelters for that from the Rangers fans. Then it turns out that David Shillinglaw from London Rangers Supporters Club here or over in Ontario was the sponge man for Stranraer that day as well. So every time he was called onto the pitch, he kept stalling the game because they were getting absolutely smashed in the game. And he was also constantly referred to as a not a very nice person by the Rangers fans as well. Well, here's the kicker. Neither Neil or Davy knew that one of them had immigrated to Orange County and the other one had immigrated to London, vice versa sort of thing. Neither of the two of them knew that until the chat on the WhatsApp group, and then they realised and connected and it's a small world and all that sort of thing. So a pretty cool story there, something just to kind of lighten the mood a wee bit in terms of today's morbidity. But pretty cool story. So well done to Neil and Davey for connecting. And let's see if there's maybe some other stuff out there. We're getting a wee bit more traction on the WhatsApp group now. We've got about 73, 74 members there on now, and we're getting a wee bit of banter and things like that. So it's really good to see the new folks who were added just after the general meeting there a wee while back. Finally, from a shout-out perspective this week, and as I record this right now, as I speak, it's 7:25 p.m, and that means that my lovely niece Chloe Carey is in the airport, maybe even on the plane, embarking on a little bit of a, what would you call it, a life break from Calgary, and is heading back home to Scotland, to Paisley, for a few months. We think it's a few months to to basically just continue her journey of life and see what's out there at home for her. I know it wasn't an easy decision and one that was thought long and hard about, but she finally pulled the pin and said, stuff it, I'm going to go for it, and is heading home with the plan to come back to Calgary via the convention in June, actually, so to fly from Glasgow to Toronto, meet up with the family there, and then fly back to Calgary from there. So roughly about 3.5 months that she will be away, unless life scoops her up and takes her on another journey or another path. Either way, as long as she's healthy and very happy, that's all that matters to myself and to the remainder of the family, of course. So what that means is for the next few months at least, Debbie and Andy are now empty nesters for the first time in their life. That's their parents, Chloe's parents, of course, my sister and brother-in-law. So I imagine, I don't know what happens when you become an empty nester, but I'm assuming they'll be running up and down the stairs in the house nude and chasing each other around and doing all these kind of funky, kinky games and all sort of other sort of disgusting fantasy stuff that they've been holding off on for for years and years and years. But hey, I tell you what, they've earned it, and I'll make sure I text them well in advance before ever heading over for a visit. I'm not going to do any drop-ins just in case there's certain things that cannot be unseen. Oh dear, Gary, I wasn't going to do that part, but I thought, why not? Anyway, Chloe, my love, good luck to you. Have a great time over there. Be safe and keep in touch. She's got quite the stuff planned for when she's there, so it's going to be a great time. For the convention update, I can officially confirm it's 107 days. This time next week it's going to be 100 days, and I'm going to be panicking because it's going to go to double figures the week after that, and that equates to 15 weeks until Toronto Midtown hosts the biggest bash of the overseas calendar for Rangers fan events. Just a quick reminder, the hotel rooms and tickets are on sale. I was, as I mentioned earlier, hoping for a bit of a flurry of ticket sales after the Cup final yesterday. That obviously didn't materialise, so we'll just keep plugging away with the planning, and hopefully we'll get a wee uptick in the tickets over the next wee while. Just a reminder that those are $225 for all 3 nights. That's the welcome night, the Tam Plunkett Blue night, and the Walter Smith Memorial Grand Banquet. And another reminder that the Holiday and Flight Centre do have their full packages on sale for folks that are interested in the one-stop shop. You can go to @theconvention.com. And the phone number is in the blurb, and you'll get to see what they have to offer. And you will still be able to book a one-stop shop with them from this week, continuing. But my understanding is that Rosie and team are going to be giving back some of the seats, the flight seats in particular, to ensure that they're not on the hook for unsold inventory. So that was going to be up to including the end of this month. So, by the time you listen to this, I'm sure that transaction will have probably taken place. And in terms of a travel partner, I honestly, firmly believe that this is the right thing to do for NARSA over time. It's going to take a wee bit of time to build up some momentum and get people used to, the fact that you can do this, that we are officially sanctioning this, that you're not going to pay any more over the odds or anything by going for a one-stop shop. You're going to be treated well and have a lot of official formal protection on your travel and your trip as well. It's just going to take a wee bit of time to build up the momentum, as I say. We do also have the fundraiser for the Flute band, and that's the Dinner with David, which is an acoustic tribute to David Bowie, and that's on Sunday March the 12th, so basically 2 weeks yesterday, and that's at the Toronto No. 1 Rangers Supporters Club in Ellesmere Road in Scarborough, Ontario. So if you want to go there, please go on to their Facebook page or contact them directly and they'll get you going. The tickets are $20 per person, and that will also include a Scotch pie and beans, and it starts at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. There's going to be a raffle, there's going to be a whole bunch of fundraising for the Pride of the Rock Flute band there as well. And also we do have the golf out for sale, and I'll keep the link out there for the golf. For the folks who are actively working on the football, that should be over the next, maybe by next week, but maybe a wee bit towards the middle of March, something like that. And the magazine, the convention magazine, is also out for sale if you or your club or your business would like to take a page. It's $150 Canadian per regular page. There are some what we call show pages on the magazine, which would be the inside of the front cover, the inside of the back cover, the outside of the back cover, and the middle pages. Those are a wee bit more expensive, but if you want any information on that, you can email tmrsc1998 at outlook.com. That's tmrsc1998 at outlook.com. And you can tell them what you're looking for in terms of that. I know that Lorraine is supporting the Toronto Midtown folks, Lorraine Spence, with the logistics for the magazine as well. You can get a cheque payable to Toronto Midtown if anybody does cheques anymore, an e-transfer to the same email address that I just gave you there, and PayPal them to the exact same email address as well that I just gave. And if you're doing the PayPal, please use the friends and family option, please, to avoid any fees for that as well. So the magazine is going well as well. So in terms of guests, I am more than delighted to let you know that rejoining us this year will be none other than the legend himself, Mr. Mark Hateley. Yeah, my old friend has very graciously agreed to join us once more in Toronto this year, and I can tell you he is very, very much looking forward to it. So a wee bit about Mark. I'm going to read a wee bit of a bio here. He played for Coventry and Portsmouth before heading to the continent, firstly to AC Milan, where he scored 17 goals in 66 games for the Rossoneri, including a winner in the Milan Derby, and then on to Monaco with 59 appearances and 22 goals in the Ligue 1. And then Graham Souness brought Mark to Rangers in the summer of 1990, and after an initial slow start in Ibrox, I maybe put that one in inverted commas, he had a rough first year. He absolutely cemented his place in Rangers folklore with those two fantastic goals. Well, the first one for sure, the second one was that mob tap-in type, but in the title decider against Aberdeen at the end of his first season. I think he'd scored a couple of goals against Hibs just before it, the week before it as well, and you're like, maybe there's a goal scorer in here. And then the 1992-93 season is arguably one of Rangers' most successful in our history, quite honestly, as a team went on a 44-match unbeaten run. We won the treble and played in the inaugural Champions League, which we helped to create, being just 90 minutes away, remember that, from reaching the final. And we kind of got cheated out of that by Marseille and their, what was his guy's name, Bernard Tapie or something like that, I can't even remember now. Anyway, he played a huge part in the club's achievements that season, 29 goals in 54 matches, so more than a goal a game, forming that fantastic partnership with Ali McCoist. He left Rangers in 1995, having a total of 87 goals in 165 appearances to join QPR, had a short loan spell at Leeds before coming back in 1997 to promptly get sent off in, I think, his first game, or first Old Firm game anyway, but he did help the team clinch 9 in a row and then moved to Hull City before making a couple of appearances for Ross County. So he won a League 1 title, 6 Scottish Premier League titles, 2 Scottish Cups, 3 Scottish League Cups, and the European Under-21 Championship with England, because he scored 9 goals in 32 matches at full international level and played at the Under-21 level as well. So really delighted. I mean, this is some Rangers royalty here, and really, really delighted to have Mark confirm that he is joining us. We'll get a bit of a bio put up on the website, and if you're a fan of Mark Hateley, you're going to get a chance to stand next to him and get some photographs and get some autographs and the like. And as I know I keep saying every week, we are actively working on a couple, maybe 3, but probably 2 more to complete our 2023 roster, as they would say over here, and then it's all systems go. So if you're a fan of Mark, please get your tickets booked and you'll get a chance to spend some time in his company. Now, other business, I have been saying for the last 2 weeks I'm going to do a recap of the recent general meeting. I will do that next week. This week I got consumed by life, I guess, and by my excitement for the League Cup final, and I didn't quite get to that. So my promise is that I'll do that next week. I know you're probably desperate to hear what happened at the general meeting, because tons of people have got in touch about that. 0 people have got in touch about that, to be dead honest. In our communications for this week, we have a couple in the terms of the communications. Heart and Hand, you might remember I kind of inferred when we were talking about New Edmiston House over the last wee while that Heart and Hand were in negotiations with New Edmiston House to put on a gig there, one of their live shows, and they did put it out there. They got it signed and sealed, and it's going to be on Friday the 26th of May in New Edmiston House. So they then put the tickets on sale last week, and Yep, you guessed it. It has sold out already. So this David was saying nobody's going to come. Nobody's going to come. This is 4 times larger than any other place we've ever done. Nobody's going to come. People are going to get fed up, and it sold out pretty much in kind of record time with the way that they staggered the sales through the various tiers of subscription that they have on their subscription site, Patreon. So congratulations to David and everyone at the Heart and Hand team. That is going to be a spectacular night. They have got some fantastic stuff planned, I can tell you. And it's not very often I get a wee bit envious about the folks and what they get to enjoy back home, you know, because I love my life here in Canada. But that show is going to be an absolute belter. It really is. And with flights directly from Calgary to Edinburgh these days, and an hour of a ride to from, you never know. Watch this space, maybe we'll see. But anyway, congratulations, as I say, to everyone at Heart and Hand on that. And on the same sort of vein, from a Heart and Hand perspective, you might, if you're a subscriber to Heart and Hand, you'll already know this, but if you're just a casual visitor to the website or whatever, you'll see that both Ian Hogg and Martin Ramsey, who are some of the mainstays on the network there, have published books over the past wee while. Ian Hoggie's book Revolution talks about, Hoggie's book, what's the name of it? I can't remember the name of it now. I think it's Rangers Heroes is just out now, and what we're going to do, Martin's book is called Revolution. My apologies, I just put Revolution in brackets behind both names there. Whoops. But anyway, I'm going to do quick interviews with both Ian and Martin. Hopefully get that this week, just to talk about their books. And the Revolution book is on basically the revolution of Graham Souness and Walter Smith era, and bringing us forward. Martin can explain a wee bit more about that. Hoggie's book about the unsung heroes just goes through some heroes that we know of, and some that are genuinely unsung over the history of Rangers as well. And I'm going to just do a wee bit of an interview with both of them, maybe 5-10 minutes or so this week, and then we'll get that packaged up and put into to next week's pod as well, just to get them a wee bit of a plug over here. Quite honestly, I'm not 100% sure what the North American market is like for things like that back home. I feel that we put a lot of effort into trying to get things accessible to folks in Canada and the United States, and I'm not really sure that there's a lot of appetite or a lot of market for that sort of thing, but we'll continue to do that because that's the service we're trying to provide here at NARSA, and hopefully some people get access to what they want. And as I say, I'll try and get that done this week. If not, definitely next week, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get to that at some point on the weekend, I hope. Yeah, that's all I have for this week. A wee bit of a longer one. Again, this week that wasn't intentional. Such was my complaining about that stupid game yesterday, but that will do it for this week, my friends. As always, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to listen. Please do share it with whomever you think might enjoy it. And until next week, here's to Chloe landing safely in Paisley and settling in just fine, and Michael Beale really learning from his faux pas in terms of team selection yesterday and not starting his strongest, winningest team for the game, and he takes all that learning forward and smashes Kilmarnock on the weekend. Until next week, folks, take care and all the very best, okay? Cheerio.